to the Senate from the federal government. You are making the point.
Yeah, the point I was making is that, look, even when you are borrowing money, you have to lay out this thing. What is the consequences, to the generations unborn. Okay, because if you understand the politics of borrowing, especially in the international arena, you find that what these Bretton Woods institutions will do, if you come, they say, okay, if you do our bidding, we give you a loan, and it's just like you work in the bank. Bankers, they have access to funds. They can easily take money without, they have access, so they don't care. And by the time they know it, they have eaten their 1 year salary in advance. And that is exactly what these people do. It's a modern day slavery. If you understand the politics of it. I'm not saying that borrowing is not good, but we need to find out exactly what we need this money for, whether it's even necessary. We need to think of creative ways of getting out of all of this before we now go into borrowing.
Do you subscribe, agree with those who think that, yes, we have to look externally, because, it's cheaper for us to go external and then free up capital perhaps for local investors?
Yeah, but how many people are even borrowing from this thing? What we even need to encourage is, it's cheaper to borrow externally because at 3%, 4%, 1.5, nobody's going to give it to you now. But it's all about the monetary policy of CBN that is affecting that. But you find that even when you borrow cheaply, don't forget the money that Obasanjo administration paid off was in the part of the money he borrowed in 1978. After he squandered what Gowon left, that Gowon said that he had so much money, his problem was how to spend it.
Why did it take us that long?
Because that is the way, 30 years. 30 years. So he came back in second stanza to pay off this thing. $5 billion accumulated to 30-something billion. And even then, you pay off now. Finance will tell you that the present value and the future value, whichever one that is, but paying off now, it cost us more the time he paying that money at a go. It cost Nigeria more than if he had extended the payment plan the way it should have been, if you had paid gradually. But so the point is that I'm not sure that the institutions are still strong, that the people, what I expect World Bank also to do before giving out this loan, to look at the economic team. Who are those who are going to manage these funds? To make sure that there's transparency, there's accountability. So that it's not another money.
Even though they have their yardsticks. But we'll look at the alternatives in a moment. But let's get Mark Bay in on this. Mark Bay.
Oh, Dr. Windsor, you already said that the federal government should be looking at public-private partnerships. With one of the things that they say that they're looking at, they talk about how General Electric is coming in to also look at the rail sector, and they're in partnership with them already on that. And you also have, I think, is the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, who also talks about how they hope to go into public-private partnership on some of the roads. Don't you think that this is a mix, it's part of a mix of options that the federal government is looking at to drag us out of the recession?
Well, it's good that they're looking at it, but again, we haven't seen how much those people are committing to this. And is this 30 billion part of the government counterpart funding for the private sector that they'll be coming in? It's not clear. So if you are looking at that, you'll be able to say, okay, the total cost of all these projects are about 60 billion or 100 billion. And we are expected to contribute 30 billion. But we don't have the 30 billion. We have to borrow so that they can bring in their 70 billion to make up the difference. But it's not so, So, in every modern way financing and all that, you don't find, even if you have the money, you have to look at the return, your return. Cost of funds. If it costs you, if you invest your money in another thing that will give you about 25%, your own money, and then if it's cheaper for you to borrow, you go ahead and borrow. If the cost of borrowing is cheaper than, or is less than the cost of, your return on investment, the cost of your own capital, when you invest it somewhere else, then you take the cheaper side, which is borrowing. This is what organizations do. This is what I expect the government to do.
But we also saw today that the AFDB, I think they approved some $600 million or so. So it means they're looking at alternatives, but apparently not enough.
Yeah, but they should be careful about how much they borrow. If you have so much funds in the system, okay, it has a way of impacting, causing wastages. You have money that you don't need, okay? So they should be careful, think critically. How much do we actually need? So that, African Development Bank is promising something. Other agencies, international agencies are promising something. And you're still going to borrow. The country will be awash with, kind of foreign, money that they don't need.
In the light of what the Senate has said, meaning when all is fixed and properly done, it will be represented and perhaps get an approval. What would you be saying now that you're already scared of what had happened in the 70s and we just got out of that mess in 2000? So how do you want this government to manage this?
Now, what I expect the government to do is to give guarantees. We still have some little money in the foreign reserve to give these private investors guarantees that, look, if you invest here in infrastructure, and in case we misbehave, as we usually do sometimes, in payment, and wastages and all that, we have our foreign reserve, which can be like a guarantee to encourage them. Investment everywhere in the world is all about confidence. But they have lost that confidence. The international investors seem to have lost that confidence. And that's why some airlines are moving out, some other companies are moving out, because of government current policies and the body language of the leadership.
And you say partnership can help us here?
Of course, it can help us if we have. What I keep saying, when this administration came to power, I said, look, they have to look for Nigerians or people that with international clout and send them on errands on their behalf. The international community may not know the president, And one of the governors, even Lagos State government did. They needed a business, from government of Dubai. They looked for someone with international clout. The person took them to Dubai and introduced it to the government. The government is investing about 20 billion or thereabout in Lagos, not because of the governor, but because of that person that they know international clout in Nigeria. So they should look at these people and use them, send them on errand. And even the former ministers, what stops you from asking them, put your pride aside, let them make a few calls. I have been at an event in Abuja where World Bank people were, and they have their own. I know what they told me, that they could not do anything at that time until their own person resumed work. So they know there are people that they look up to who can account for this. But
they can't call the shots for us, can they?
No, they can't call the shots.
Tell us what to do and how to do it.
No, they can't call the shot. But again, I keep saying, we should be careful how we borrow monies from these people, because it's a modern day slavery. If they give you loan, to get entangled, so that whatever they tell you to do, you will do, which is not good for us. Our sovereignty could also be threatened. We're not free to do anything for as long as we borrow this money from them. They will tell us, okay, change this policy, change this, change that, which is not good for us. So we need to be careful. That's where I stand. Understand the politics of borrowing, international politics of borrowing, and how they have used this kind of borrowing as debts to weaken African governments. Loans, they keep paying for it. Monies they could have used to build hospitals and all that, they use it to pay back loans.
All right, well, Uncle, at that point, Dr. Austin Wanse, we appreciate your coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back. One more perspective to go, so do join us again.